Hey guys, welcome to Reaction Time. Post Big 12s, Iowa State, Big 12 champions. Ben and I hit the studio literally essentially within an hour of me being back from Tulsa. So I'm a little tired, but pretty wired at this point after recapping and prepping for this podcast. Before we get into it, I wanted to start by giving Fareway a big shout out. All of the coverage, all of the stuff that I'm able to bring to today's conversation about what went down in Tulsa truly is thanks to them. Just wanted to make sure to give them a little extra love just because I wouldn't have gone to Tulsa without them. So, but what was that?
Aiden, what's going on over there?
I think there's a ghost. That wasn't me. That was outside.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I
thought that was
legit
you.
thought you were trying to play a sound. Okay, weird.
Probably didn't pick up on the mics either, so everybody is probably very confused.
Okay. Do you want me to jump back in? Okay. So, like I said, thank you to Fareway. Today's podcast, Ben, I'm excited because we don't have a roadmap here.
Nope.
It's just going to be all vibes. We're just going to go with it. A lot happened this weekend. Let's start with the really big one. Iowa State Big 12 champions for the first time since 2009. What were you doing in 2009? Like, were you in college? Or
No.
nope, I'm aging you there. I'm so
Jeez.
sorry.
Yikes.
I made
old.
you.
I'm
I was
not
gonna
that
say
old.
we're not that far apart.
No.
2009. I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah, I was a sophomore.
I really said Ben's in college.
Yeah, sophomore in high school, not sophomore in college.
So sorry. I told you guys I was gonna be unhinged. But anyways, yeah, Iowa State Big 12 champions. So when they clinched it, I had all notifications off on my phone just because, number one, my phone was on 14%, poor planning. And I just didn't want to be distracted. Truly, the only notifications I had on was for you, Aiden, Chris, and Andy, the SID. So I did not know they had clinched it. So I kind of didn't really have it hit me that it was like a thing until the end. But exciting stuff. Iowa State won it with 152.5 team points. That is the fourth most in tournament history, which is huge.
Huge.
Like,
and incredible because
Yeah.
there's a lot more points as we go through this. There's a lot more points left on the table that Iowa State should have and could have won. So
Right.
the fact that they had the fourth most points ever with the somewhat lack of results, but again, context. But that's an incredible result.
So when they clinched it, what was going through your head? What were you thinking?
Yeah, so it was right after the Anthony Echemendia match. So I thought that they clinched it just based off of who was left for Oklahoma State. And I think they only had one wrestler left. And it's like, okay, I'm pretty sure Iowa State just won this tournament. And then I looked on Twitter and Andy Stubblefield, the Iowa State SID, had already tweeted out that Iowa State's Big 12 champions. Like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. Like, this is my first 2 years covering Iowa State were the Kevin Jackson era, where in that time it was Oklahoma State versus the Big 12 All-Stars. Like, the whole finals match, it was Oklahoma State versus someone else, Oklahoma State versus someone else. And like, there might have been one match where it was someone else versus someone else. But like, Oklahoma State was in every finals match. So it was essentially Oklahoma State versus the Big 12 All-Stars.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma State won, like, all the time. Like, it wasn't even that quote unquote dual meet was not close. Like, Oklahoma State was dominant. So to see not just Iowa State, but to see how far the rest of the Big 12 has come has been awesome and incredible, because Oklahoma State only had 4 finalists, 2 winners. Iowa State had 5 finalists, 2 winners. Missouri did they only have 1 finalist? They had a couple finalists, and then O'Toole won. So just the depth and breadth of the Big 12 right now, I think the wrestling is in a really healthy place. Lot of top end talent, as we'll talk about, both at Iowa State and not at Iowa State. So, my reaction for when Iowa State won it was, this is incredible, because the wrestling is probably better than it's ever been in the Big 12. And for Iowa State to win it this year is huge, and to win it in the fashion they did, because we talked about before in the pre-tournament podcast that it was expected that Iowa State and Oklahoma State, on paper, if everything went as expected, would tie 126.5 to 126.5. And you said Iowa State won with 152. that speaks to, I mean, we'll get into it, but bonus points. Like that is a massive, massive number.
Yes. Something I thought of when kind of just reflecting on, how Iowa State did. I think back to, when Dresser first got here, obviously rough, just kind of getting into adjusting into, you have a whole new team, you're trying to figure out who's going to start. And then, we established, Ian Parker became a golden standard of the type of wrestler they wanted, the type of guy who does everything right. And then you had Dagan, who was kind of the scrappier guy, a little rougher around the edges, but still, won really big matches. And, Gremmel developed eventually and was like a key guy too. He was a Big 12 champion, but like the Iowa State who won the Big 12 this weekend to the teams who really started to give people hope are like very different. Like the bonus points, I feel like we're a broken record with the bonus points, but I need people to understand, and I haven't had time. Again, I just got back, but I really want to go back and look at how many team points they were scoring in the past, just alone from a bonus point standpoint, because Iowa State having every single one of their wrestlers score points this weekend is not a thing that was happening.
No.
And bonus points was not even really happening very often. Like in general, like in dual meets, they weren't winning by bonus points. So they were consistently falling short in duels that maybe they could have won had they been able to rack some more points. So like the fact that they were able to win it the way they did because of bonus points just goes to show that it's not just us being like biased or like high on the train of like, wow, Dresser has all these really great, like top ranked guys. Like, no, on paper, these guys are truly like a top contending team. And so I think when I look at them winning this title, especially the way they did over Oklahoma State, I think it really shows that they're not a team you should be doubting. So I am very excited about the growth of the program, and that I think you just said it right, like the health, like the competitiveness, like this is a competitive team. And someone, I believe it was in the message boards, made a comment like, I never thought that we would be looking at a competitive program the season after David Carr graduates, which is true. I really am not worried about Iowa State anymore after David Carr leaves, which is huge.
2 years ago, even last year, I would have been very nervous.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the Iowa State might return back to the mid-teens without David Carr.
Right. Like, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
And that's not the conversation anymore.
No, I firmly believe they'll still be top 10 and potentially top 5 and competing for team trophies at NCAAs.
Which we'll get into that eventually. I don't know when we'll get there, but there's guys that are going to be entering the lineup, like just not even in the transfer portal. Like we're not even looking at the transfer portal yet. We haven't even talked about the incoming freshman class. Like what they have right now in the room, I think is more than enough to have a top lineup to go in and compete and be competitive next year in the same way they were this year, or still are. I guess we still have NCAAs, but for team scores, just for reference, so Iowa State finished with 152.5. Oklahoma State finished in second with 141.5. South Dakota State came in third. Shout out,
Jackrabbit.
122 points. Missouri finished in fourth, which was surprising to me.
Yeah, must have the flu.
115.5. And then Northern Iowa finished in fifth place with 100 points. And then you can look up the rest. We'll just focus on top 5. But like Iowa State won that convincingly.
And could have won by more, which again, we'll get into.
And
arguably should have won by more, depending on refs. But again,
we'll get into that. So, in terms of being in Tulsa, I want you to know there was a moment, when it kind of hit, right? Like they're on the stage. I was laughing because I had texted print the shirts, and when we were walking to the stage, someone already had the box out. I was like, oh, they literally printed shirts. I don't know why I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but like they started busting out all their shirts. They had hats, and there was a moment, I wish I'd have gotten a video of it. Dresser was on stage with them, and he started yelling, "Someone get the trophy over here." It was just so funny. They were all so happy. I don't think I've ever seen them all so happy.
Yeah.
Ever.
Will Feldkamp dumping the Gatorade bath on Dresser was a top moment.
David picked up Dresser. I was so nervous. There was water everywhere. I'm like, I really hope he doesn't drop him. They were all, it was truly like kids in a candy store, like the grins they all had, and they kept hugging each other. Like if you would just turn anyway, and it was someone was hugging someone, and they're this is a small thing, but I thought it was funny. All the hats had tags on them.
Mm-hmm.
So they were all running around with this gigantic tag sticking out of the hats. And they were just, on cloud nine. It was really fun to see them celebrate. Obviously, Oklahoma State had pretty much cleared out of the arena by a heavyweight match, which we can get into the rivalries of it all, but they make up such a large portion of that arena and fans that you just get tired of them. So it's just nice for them to be gone.
Yeah.
They're just so loud. But so Iowa State wins it. Kevin Dresser wins Big 12 Coach of the Year.
Deservedly.
Yes. There's a picture I took of him that I think is so funny where I don't know if you saw it. He's like holding his trophy and he's like showing it off.
I didn't see that. That's incredible.
He's literally just showing it off to the team and they're all losing their minds. And I thought it was such a like wholesome moment. Yonger also tried to give Dresser the team trophy while he's holding his Big 12 Coach of the Year. And literally Dresser was like, take that back. Like it was just such a huge, I think Yonger was the only one that was able to lift it above his head. For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But on top of that, Anthony Echemendia, Yonger Bastida, Big 12 champions as well at their respective weights. Talk me through what was going through your head during Anthony's match, and then we can get to Younger's match.
Yeah. Anthony's match, what was going through my mind was essentially what Doug Schwab said at after the duel. Like, these are the matches, and then same thing with Cody Chedman, Ryder Downing. These are the matches that make rivalries great, and these are the matches that make rivalries. Echemendia lost to Cale Happel early in the season at the Cliff Keen Invitational. Echemendia beat him in the duel in an incredibly close match. And then in this one, Echemendia got the takedown the first like 30 seconds. Like, oh boy, we could be in for a high scoring bout. We'll see what happens. And then not a lot happened after. Like, and they said this on the broadcast too. Cale Happel is shooting, quote unquote, a lot, but like none of his shots were committed shots. Like he was so afraid to get too deep into Anthony that Anthony would be able to counter him or jack him up and go upper body, because that's what happened in the dual meet, right? Cale Happel got in a little bit too deep, a little bit too much bad technique, and Anthony literally threw him on his head. So you could tell that there was some hesitancy from Happel in that. Like he was just shooting shots, but like they were only half shots. They weren't committed shots. So when I saw that in the third period, we saw it in the first two periods, but when I saw it in the third period, I was like, okay, Anthony's going to win this. Because like Happel's afraid to actually shoot on him. So love that match. Love that for Anthony. Big 12 champion in your first actual tournament as a collegiate wrestler is huge. We've seen him grow so much just in terms of confidence this year. Like he's always been a great wrestler. But if you were to take the Anthony from the beginning of the year and to the end of the year, they almost look like different wrestlers.
Yeah.
Against bad wrestlers probably looks pretty similar, but against those top end guys like a Cale Happel, he looks so much more confident. Like he knows he belongs out there. He knows what he can do. He knows what his abilities are. And really, we'll get into it pretty soon. It's similar with Yonger. Younger threw it out there a little bit more than Anthony did as a young guy, but we've seen Younger's confidence just skyrocket too. So, yeah, I love that Echemendia match. It wasn't high scoring. It wasn't he didn't have any huge, massive throws that made your jaw drop, but it was a very solid win against a top competitor.
Yeah, I like how you brought up the whole rivalry deal, because once it was over, you know, you could tell that there was just like an extra tad of like sportsmanship between them, because this is going to be like something they'll keep doing, right? Because Cale Happel's not done yet, right?
I don't think he's a senior. Let's find out.
And it's the same thing with the Chittum and Downey match. At the end of it, I think Downey like patted him on the back before, right when the whistle was about to blow. So like, this is really, really fun. And I love that UNI has these guys that can compete and go head to head with Iowa State's guys, because it really does just make everything more fun. There was a UNI fan. I can't remember which match it was between those two that it was dead silent, and all you heard was him yell, "This is an in-state rivalry, do something." Honestly, it might have been Cale Happel's match. So it just, the fans are clearly really, really into it. And
Happel's a junior, so.
Okay, good. So, no, it was really great to see Anthony go out there and do that. And I feel like when you have to wrestle the same guy several times like that, at some point, one of them does get scared because they know what can happen if they get a little too loose. And thankfully, it wasn't Anthony. I thought it was really exciting to see just what it meant to him. He immediately dropped down on the ground, and Coach Villascusa was just very animated in the corner as well. And it's like the part of the job that I really enjoy is seeing we watch them for so long and we talk with them week after week. And Anthony has consistently talked about how grateful he is for the second chance he feels he got when Iowa State took him in. And then just, all the adversity with 149 at the start, and now him and Swiderski are so tight. I want to talk about this later, but Swiderski's we think David's the number one fan on this team. Swiderski got called out by one of the floor people because he was almost on the mat. They're like, "Hey man, you got to back up."
Yeah.
But to see Anthony just go through all those emotions, of coming back to Iowa State, having to work his way into that lineup the way he did by dropping back down to 141 after wanting to go up. And then, just his confidence.
And winning the 149 spot. He won that spot. He was going to be the 149 pounder.
I guess, we forgot about that part.
And he decided, no, Swiderski needs to be in this lineup. I'll drop down even though I won that spot fair and square.
Well, and again, the cool thing with that is, so Anthony gets done with his ESPN interview, and right away, Swiderski was standing right there, waiting to give him a hug and congratulate him. So it's my favorite part of the job is when you get to see guys get the win they've been working so hard for. So it was just an emotional moment. You could tell, like I said, Coach Fernando was very much in his feels, and Kevin Dresser there were moments during the finals that I would look over at Dresser and his hand was shaking on his knee. His leg was bouncing. I don't know that I've seen him that nervous before.
Yeah.
I really don't think I have. And he's usually very calm and collected in the corner. And he was not.
Yeah.
On Sunday, he was not cool, calm, and collected. So you could tell just how much emotion was going into Anthony getting this match. And so it was also really fun to talk to him after, because he just shared a lot about growing in his faith since coming to Iowa State, his mom, and just being able to represent Iowa State and get this title win. And I think it's just fun to see the emotional side of it, because I think we just get so caught up in the details of are you getting enough takedowns? Are you getting the bonus points? And then it's once they get it, it's this is a very, very emotional thing for him. So I think that was the big thing with Anthony, with him winning. It was just a moment of a satisfying win to I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It do you get what I'm saying? It was a reward for all the hard work he's put in, right? All the sacrifices he's made, all the things he's been through. I feel in that moment, he felt he got a win, and not just literally, but figuratively.
Yeah. And
then you look at Younger, and it's whereas Younger was walking into this, Younger had a lot to prove to the country, and he needed to make a name for himself and stamp it. His name was already in the conversation, but he needed to really stamp it, because everyone, I feel was yeah, Younger's amazing. He's great, but we haven't seen him against Hendrickson yet, or we haven't seen him against Kirkfleet yet. So I feel it was two wins that ultimately had very different reasons to celebrate. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Absolutely.
I went on a weird tangent there.
It's all right. It happens to the best of us.
So, but anything else with Anthony?
I just want to shout out the rest of his tournament, because we talked about bonus points at the beginning of this.
Yes.
First round tech fall, second round tech fall, semifinals major decision. That's a great tournament. Bonus points in every single match except the finals. You're scoring a lot of team points doing that. So just beyond him winning his own individual title, he clearly had a large role in helping Iowa State get its team title. So that's what you want in tournaments. That's what you want to see in tournaments. Just dominate the guys you're better than, and it we've seen it in dual meets. but it helps me grow in confidence for the NCAAs. When he's wrestling that first round match, he'll be a top 7 seed, probably top 6. So he'll get matched up against the number 20 something guy in the country who he should beat by bonus points. And that gives me a lot of confidence going into that. Like, okay, he's going to be able to do that. Those first 2 rounds, we'll see what the matchups look like when the brackets come out. But those first 2 rounds are a really good possibility of bonus points because that major decision, the 14-4 major decision over Jordan Titus might be one of those mid-teen type of guys that he would see in a second round. So loved Anthony's tournament top to bottom.
Well, and I guess this could be a good time. So I pulled up from track. They have a bunch of stats available after the tournament's over, and they have one that says most team points, like what did each guy contribute to their team. So the number 1 guy for Iowa State, Yonger.
Yep.
Yonger contributed 24 team points. And right after him is Anthony with 23 team points. And so if you look at the top 5, it literally goes Ty Waters from West Virginia, Tanner Sloan from South Dakota State, and then it goes Yonger, Anthony, and then Parker Ketkheisen. So like that's 2 of Iowa State's guys in the top 5 guys in the entire tournament who contributed the most points to their team. So this is where we talked a lot about leading up to this weekend, like every single point matters. Because then if you go all the way down to the bottom, you have Julian Broderson, who contributed 1 team point. That made a huge difference.
It could have been the difference if Oklahoma State, another guy wins a title. If another guy in the Oklahoma State finishes first, that team race becomes a lot closer. And then that 1 Julian Broderson point could have been the difference.
Exactly. So just crazy to see Yonger and Anthony in the top 5 in the entire tournament.
Yep.
And it's Anthony's first tournament. So again, bonus points when you tournaments.
Tournaments and titles.
So, but a lot of other action. Where do we go next?
Yonger.
All right.
Been too long.
Ben is wearing his Yonger Bastida shirt again.
Yep.
There were quite a few.
Nice, as there should be.
I loved it. It was super cool to see everyone. Sam Schuyler wore his, has to support his fellow heavyweight.
Fellow heavyweight. He's been getting beaten up all year.
Yeah.
Thanks to Yonger in the practice
Imagine
room.
those practices. So Yonger Bastida, what a weekend. Let me start again with the stats we have. So another fun stat we can look at for the tournament is most pins and the amount of time it took each wrestler to get said pins. Yonger got 2 pins this weekend. This is the first time he's gotten a pin since, what did I say, 2022? Season?
He hasn't gotten one this year.
Yeah, no. He hasn't had one in a while, and he proceeded to go and get one and then got another one. But he got those in 2 minutes and 47 seconds.
Total.
Yes.
That wasn't 1 pin. That was both pins.
And the first one, I believe his first pin was in 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yep.
And that's the fastest of his career. So Yonger not only is coming in with all eyes on him because he could take out Wyatt Hendrickson, but he's like, I'm going to go ahead and take care of these other statistics and records in my career quick. And then in terms of the whole tournament, I thought it was really interesting and just like, again, how good this Iowa State team is. So Younger's the number 1 guy in the tournament who spent the least amount of time getting his 2 pins. And the next guy after him, so the number 2 guy in the entire tournament is MJ Gaitan, which is awesome. Like to see 2 Iowa State guys in that top 5. But Gaitan's 2 pins were in 4 minutes. So that's like,
Yonger spent less than a first period in his first 2 matches.
Yeah.
Like he didn't even wrestle a first period in 2 matches combined.
Yep. And Wyatt Hendrickson, the king of pinning, literally in the NCAA, only got 1 pin in 1:45.
Which is crazy because like Jackie said, he's led the NCAA in pins each of the last 2 seasons. And the fact he only got 1 and the fact that Yonger got 2, which just floored me. When he got that first one locked up that cradle, I was like, whoa, I didn't even know Yonger knew how to cradle somebody. But he's never done it before. That's not something you do in freestyle very often.
Right.
And the second one against Michael Wolfgram, who he tech falled earlier in the year. So like that's what I was expecting. I was expecting a tech fall in that match. But I don't remember what Wolfgram did, but he did something weird. And Yonger's like, oh, I'll just pin you. Like, why are you on your back right now? So that was great. And then we'll get to the Hendricks match, I promise. But that Zach Elam match, beating him by major decision again.
What a slap in the face.
Great. Because like he was undefeated. Zach Elam was undefeated going into the Missouri-Iowa State duel. And then Yonger beats him by major decision. Like, okay, well, maybe because I had several people ask me, do you think he just kind of gave up or wasn't trying to show everything he had?
That's kind of how I felt.
And I'm just like, I don't think so, but maybe. And then for Yonger to do it again, it's like, no, that's everything Zach Elam has. So now it's just a clear, at that point in time, it's a clear Kerkvliet, Hendrickson, Bastida. Those are the top three. Yep. No questions asked. Colton Schultz is out. Zach Elam's out. The Michigan guy is out. Mason Paris, is that his name? Is that the old guy's name? I don't remember. Michigan heavyweight, he's out. I think I'm thinking
Lucas Davison.
Lucas Davison. Mason Paris is the previous heavyweight. Lucas Davison.
I was like, what are you talking?
Yeah, he was Mason Paris. I think might have been 2 heavyweights ago. For Michigan. Anyway, Lucas Davison. He's not in the top 3. It is those 3 going into the finals, and then we do get Bastida-Hendrickson, and holy cow, did that live up to every piece of hype? To me, at least, it did. That was incredible. Like, so first of all, we talk about, Jackie and I talked a lot about how big Hendrickson is. He lost weight. Like, he used to be bigger, and he weighed in at 265, I think you said.
That's what
the weight.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's official.
Okay.
It was just what they thought.
Okay. Because he slimmed down. Like, I think he went from last year to this year after wrestling Greg Kerkvliet last year, being like, all right, so that's what it feels like. I should probably cut down, which has been a common theme in heavyweight wrestling in recent years.
Slowly but surely.
So he was smaller than I expected him to be. Still, Yonger was giving up 20 pounds, but that match had everything I could have hoped for. That was awesome. Jackie, you were Matt's side.
Yes. So when you're Matt's side to shoot, it's not the positions you're shooting in are very awkward because the stage isn't quite like high enough for you to just kind of be like on your knees comfortably. So I think I changed positions about 10 times just because I was like, what is he going to do? And when he got Hendrickson on his back the first time, I think I like stopped breathing. I was like, oh my gosh, is he about to pin him? Is he going to pin him? Which I kind of wish he would have, because I think that arena would have lost their mind. I think they would have blown the roof off of it because that would have been nuts. But my thoughts going into this match was like, I full-heartedly believe in his dominance and that he could go head-to-head with Hendrickson. I just felt that this was going to be the first time that Yonger maybe got a little heat, because I didn't feel Hendrickson was going to be scared of him.
No, and he wasn't.
And
you could see that in the match that Hendrickson was not scared of Yonger, which shout out to him.
Yes, and I expected Hendrickson to go in and shoot, and I was curious to see, would Yonger go neutral? Would Yonger pick bottom? Like, those were things that I was like, I feel like those moments in other matches are any breeze for him. And in this one, it might be a little uncomfortable just because, again, Hendrickson wasn't shaken by him. But Yonger came in guns blazing. And when, like I said, when he got into his back the first time, I just about lost it. Because I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? It was just like one of those where Yonger, I think it goes back to all the times in interviews where he's like, yeah, I know I'm the best in the country. I feel like it was one of those moments where Yonger never once doubted that he would be able to get Wyatt Hendrickson down on his back. But the rest of us were like, well, it might be a little tougher this time. So I was very impressed. I didn't think Yonger could improve. Not necessarily impressive. I didn't think he could surprise us. I didn't think he could whip out moves that we thought were impossible and then make them possible.
Yep.
So we might as well talk about the one leg.
The one leg takedown. Aiden, can you pull that video up? I'll talk about it first. But that takedown, like, obviously this shirt is Air Bastida. He's known for picking guys up, throwing them, doing all these crazy athletic things. And in the broadcast, so Bastida takes a shot. Hendrickson sprawls out, counterattacks, gets Bastida's leg up in the air. Bastida's hopping around on one leg. Hendrickson goes for a trip, which very common, happens all the time.
Right.
And for every other heavyweight in the nation, besides Yonger and maybe Greg Kerkvliet, Hendrickson gets that trip and gets the takedown. The problem is Yonger Bastida is maybe the best athlete heavyweight wrestlers have ever seen. like it's either him or Greg Kirkfleet, and like there might be recency bias in that. Kyle Stander's obviously an incredible wrestler, but I don't think he's the athlete that Yonger and Greg Kirkfleet are. So you have this absolute freak of nature athlete, and Hendrickson goes for the trip, and Yonger just bulldozes him on one leg, just straight through him, probably 10 feet across the mat, takes him down, puts him to his back, gets 3 back points. Eventually, Hendrickson's able to fight off his back. And in that moment, you have to be thinking, what the heck just happened? Because lightweight guys don't do that. Like I remember it might have been Younger's freshman year or sophomore year. He was hopping around. I think it might have been AJ Ferrari's freshman year. He was hopping around one leg, and I asked Coach Dresser after the match, like, he seemed pretty comfortable in that position. Is that something that like he can do? He's like, I've seen Yonger hop around the entire wrestling room on one leg. That's one of the most comfortable positions he can be in. So when I saw that happen, I was like, okay, I know Younger's comfortable in this position. We'll see, like, if the number 2 guy in the nation can make him uncomfortable, take him down. He cannot. He will get taken down with Yonger just using one leg. That was the most impressive athletic feat I think I have seen in the sport of wrestling. Well, you just don't see it, especially at heavyweight. Even lighter weights, you don't see it. Like, you don't see that at 130 or 133 or anything. Like, you don't see it. It's unbelievable.
Like I said, it's like one week we'll be like, yeah, this is crazy. You're not supposed to see this from a heavyweight. And then the next week he's like, bet.
Yeah.
Bet. Watch what I can do next. It was, play that. That's insane.
Yes, like he goes for the trip, and one leg is like, nope, I got you.
He does it gracefully. Yeah. Gracefully.
It was totally on purpose, 1000%. He didn't fall into him. He exploded through him, and like it was just a normal, almost it was like a weird double leg type of deal. I don't even know what you'd call that. If there's a term for it, like. That makes no sense. He just blasted right through him.
Look at the
and then that's the second takedown.
See, that's when I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, again? Yep. You're going to try and pin him again?
Yep. That second takedown, even that, because that's just a normal counterattack blast double. Like, that's a normal takedown. That happens outside of other matches. It's still impressive, especially at heavyweight. But, like, that first takedown, we might not ever see that again.
Do you think he makes Sam Schuyler practice that with him?
Like I think he makes Kyvan practice it with him because Kyvan had a tweet. Aiden, I might make you do more work. Because Kyvan tweeted, oh man.
About practicing?
Practicing, not that specific thing, I don't think, but like I know Younger's comfortable with a leg up in the air because I've gone through that with him. So yeah, he does things that no other heavyweight can or does.
You know what's funny is when we got to talk to him, when did we talk to him? After the Thursday?
Yeah, it's his most recent tweet.
Oh, perfect. That was easy. I asked him, I think it was me or Andy asked him about how you could tell Zach Elam made adjustments. And by adjustments, we mean he fought for his life to not be lifted. If you go back and watch, that's kind of what it was. Like Yonger tried to lift him 3 or 4 times, and Zach fought him tooth and nail to not be lifted. And part of me thinks it was because Zach was like, that was embarrassing.
I'm sure it hurt. His face broke his fall.
It's like the adjustments these guys have to make when they're going into these matches with him are just to fight for their lives. It's not even like, how can we get a takedown on Yonger? It's how do we avoid being absolutely demolished? And I didn't talk to Zach Elam. I've never spoken to him in my life. These are assumptions. I'll put it out.
But we watched him wrestle him. I mean, that's exactly
like he just looks in the privacy of the wrestling room.
Yep. So Kyvan, someone tweeted at Kyvan, Kyvan, I would have loved to have you on the call when Bastida took down Wyatt Hendrickson with one leg in the air. For some reason, when I saw that, I thought, I bet Kyvan Gatson is going nuts right now. Kyvan quote tweeted that and said, when certain things have happened to you in the privacy of the wrestling room, some things aren't as surprising anymore. To me, that reads, Bastida has done that to Kyvan.
Probably.
I was absolutely dialed in from the couch, and I'm excited to watch everything play out in Kansas City. So to me, that sounds like, I don't know if they've practiced it that specifically, or if that's just something Younger does. And he just broke it out for Hendrickson. And also in that, because I was thinking about this too, who else has shot on him this year? Nobody. He's been taken down twice because that was because of 2 bad shots by Younger.
Yeah, I was going to say this was one of those situations.
Zach Elam didn't shoot on him.
No.
Colton Schultz didn't shoot on him. I don't think, did Lucas Davison shoot on him? He might have shot once. Lucas Davison might have. I don't know that he did though. Maybe he did. I don't know if it was committed. Hendrickson took 2 committed shots on him and got taken down twice because Younger is an absolute animal.
Yeah, Hendrickson's about the only guy who's really tried to wrestle him.
Yeah.
Which is great. This is what we want, right?
And he took him down once. So it was the score was 10-7. Hendrickson did score on Younger. So shout out to him. He is a very, very good wrestler. But you can't prepare for freak of nature.
And I'm curious, if I'm Greg Kirkfleet, I'm home today. You're obviously watching that match. That's going to be something you're going to use to prepare for. How do you prepare for that? Because I don't know what's in their wrestling room. I don't know what his practices look like. So I just can't even imagine how you go in there with Kale and say, hey, coach, let's prepare for Yonger Bastida.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
I don't know.
Like, holy crap.
It's like what Younger said, when you wrestle me, you have to try to survive.
Truly. And after he won, we interviewed him and, he was feeling great. Again, how do you not? You just won a title in your inaugural season. Because again, I feel like it was never that anyone doubted him. It was just more of like curiosity, like, how do you adjust? How do you fit into this weight? How does your athleticism look at the heavyweight level? And I feel like people just had questions, but Younger never once doubted what he was capable of. And he said it. He was like, it was never a doubt in my mind that I was the best in the country, which again, and the way he says it, it doesn't even come off with ego, in my opinion.
He sounds super humble when he says it. He does. Absolutely.
He's crazy. Oh, love him. He a funny note about his opponent, Zach Elam. So Zach Elam finishes in 3rd, and he tweeted, unlike Greg Kirkfleet and Wyatt Hendrickson, who are not active on Twitter, Zach Elam quoted the Missouri tweet announcing he finished in 3rd after taking out Josh Heinzelman. He said, I took 3rd in all 5 conference tournaments I wrestled in during my college career. Some say that's more impressive than first 5 times. #grit. No one says that. So, at least he's funny.
Yeah.
At least he's funny.
He's got a good attitude about it.
I have enjoyed Zach Elam over the years. So just, I was ready to watch Younger against Wyatt, and the way I feel about wanting to see him and Greg Kirkfleet go head to head is an undescribable feeling.
Yeah. Well, we're likely going to get Bastida and Hendrickson again because we're going to get Greg Kirkfleet will be the number 1 seed most likely. Now, I had someone say that Bastida has a better resume than Kirkfleet, and he probably does. But Kirkfleet will be the number 1 seed.
Right.
So then you get Bastida and Hendrickson on the bottom side of the bracket as the 2 and 3 seed. So those guys will probably most likely meet in the semifinals, assuming health and assuming there are no crazy upsets. But I think both Bastida and Hendrickson are good enough to not let that happen. So we're gonna get that match again probably, which super excited because
fingers crossed.
Elam made adjustments, but
not good
enough. He's just not a good enough wrestler. No offense, he's just not. Hendrickson is a very good wrestler. So I'm interested, and I thought this not quite immediately after, but I did think this last night because I was also pretty high on adrenaline. So I didn't go to bed until like 1 last night, I think. I was too amped up. I was excited.
That's fine. I get it.
So I was thinking about this last night. It's like Hendrickson can make adjustments and make them be meaningful.
Yep.
What does Younger do differently? Because Younger didn't shoot a lot this match. Like both his takedowns were off of counterattacks, which again, we don't see that from Younger because no one ever shoots on him. Clearly he's very good at it. So what adjustments does each guy make for that next match? Because I'm sure they both will.
Yeah.
So that makes me very excited. And if Younger's able to prevail again, Greg Kirkfleet, again, assuming health and nothing absolutely crazy happens, will be in the finals. And if that happens, I will be uncontrollable. Like, if you're with me in that moment, I apologize because I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I won't be sitting. There's a 0% chance I'll be sitting during that match. I'll be standing.
Would you be on the floor?
I don't know what I'll be doing. Who knows? But I won't be able to sit. I know that. So that would be a match that could be a match for the ages.
Well, I couldn't sit during the Wyatt Hendrickson match.
Yeah.
Like I was in weird, like half up, half down positions during the other ones. But like during his, I did like a squat because I just like didn't have it in me to be fully sitting because I was like, this is too high adrenaline inducing to be watching this right now. So Yonger continues to make us excited. And again, we do interviews with him and he just makes you root for him even more just because of, again, he's humble. And he also, like Anthony, talks about how grateful he is for this opportunity to be here. And, having Coach Fernando in his corner is as well. Again, Coach Fernando was also losing his mind during that match. And after Yonger won, I didn't get a picture of it, but Coach Fernando just like turned around quick, had a grin, and just like threw a fist pump in the air. And it's exciting to see these guys get this together. I mean, Yonger and Anthony grew up together, so it's just really fun to see the way two people who grew up together as best friends in Cuba somehow end up in Ames, Iowa, of all places. And now they're wrestling for Iowa State that we just so happen to cover. It's a story that I don't think we'll probably ever see again.
No.
So
no.
Very, very exciting. It definitely is making NCAAs even more exciting, just at potential matchups, rematches, and the matches left to have. So, but there was a bunch of other matches in the finals. What do you want to talk about next? Keegan O'Toole and David Carr?
Yep.
So Keegan O'Toole is huge.
He's massive. I don't know how he makes weight.
Well, yeah. As just like people there, when we were watching him wrestle on Saturday, someone made a comment like, just wait till he gets his like 1 or 2 pound allowance for tomorrow or whatever it is. I think it's maybe 2.
I don't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah. And sure enough, he really does look so much bigger than David. And when they were at the podium, I was looking at Keegan and I was like, honestly, his baby face doesn't look very baby face today. Like, he just didn't. But solid match from Keegan O'Toole. People who reached out or just kind of like wanted to talk about it were like, yeah, I don't understand. Like, why did that happen? Like, was that expected? Like, shouldn't have David have won? And it's like, David very much is capable of winning these. He's beat Keegan O'Toole before, but I think when you don't follow maybe just wrestling in general or like the Big 12, or especially like if you don't follow it during the off season, you wouldn't have known that Keegan O'Toole also does competitions during the summer. Keegan went and won his own. It was a junior world title, right?
I don't think it's junior. I guess U23.
Was it? Okay.
U23 world title.
Like him and David are like neck and neck here, right? Like in terms of talent. So like going into that match, of course, my bias, my consistent like being around David and knowing how he trains and his mentality, I always kind of go into those thinking, I kind of lean David. But that first period when the whistle got blown and Keegan immediately attacked, I was like, oh, he's feeling himself.
Yeah, he's ready.
Like he is feeling good. And the moment he shot right away, I don't know if you felt this from TV, but when I watched it in person, it felt like it caught David off guard. I feel like they maybe in his head and probably maybe the coaches, they thought it might be like in past matches where they start slow, a little hand fighting, walk around the mat, and then they kind of start feeling each other out in attack. But Keegan literally, I don't even think the whistle had finished blowing and he was already on David. So Keegan just came ready.
Yeah, came ready. And we knew this about Keegan beforehand, but his counter offense and just defense in general is so good. David was in pretty deep on 2 shots and wasn't able to finish either one of them. Yeah. And in fact, got taken down. So Keegan O'Toole is huge. And I think that makes that helps a lot just to out muscle David. Because that's essentially what happened in those situations is Keegan is really, really strong. So that's something where, again, if they meet again here in Kansas City in a couple weeks, what adjustments does David make? Because we've seen David take down Keegan many times before.
Right.
At least
Pin
3
him.
or 4 times. Where
Watched
you've seen
him pin him.
Yep. So what adjustments can David make to his sweep single, which that's the 2 that he got in on. That's his patented shot. He loves those sweep singles. Keegan was able to counter him. So what does David do next time to finish those? Or does he not shoot those next time? Does he show something different? Because we've seen, like, yes, he does a lot of sweep singles, but David has many bags or many tricks in his bag of tricks. So that's one opposite of Yonger, where what adjustments can David make against Keegan to reverse that result? Because we know he can.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of doing it. So that's going to be really interesting to see, again, assuming it happens.
Right. Because now with David losing, the seeding might be a little weird, because
I still think it's 1 and 2. I think David still gets the 2 seed.
You think so? I hope so. I hope, for the sake of what the brackets look like.
Yeah, because Julian Ramirez is currently number 3 according to Intermat, and he did beat David, so he could have an argument. But again, there's no difference between a 2 and a 3 seed because they have to wrestle each other anyway in the semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone after that is Dean Hamidi, who David Carr beat, I think by major decision earlier this year, maybe not, but beat him. And then you got Mikey Caliendo from Iowa, who he beat, Isaac Linick, who he beat, Peyton Hall, who he's beaten twice now.
Yep.
So, I mean, David's going to be the 2 or 3 seed. And I don't think either one of those matters because, again, they meet each other in the semifinals. So,
well, and the thing with David is, I bet you David walked off the mat. He walked off with his dad. Obviously, was disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you David was talking adjustments by the time they hit the back hall.
Yeah,
like by hands down. Mm-hmm. David said that in the past before. Like, oh yeah, I'm already thinking about XYZ. So I feel like he will change things up. If there's something David does is make adjustments, and not even necessarily because he needs to go be better, but because he wants to change things up to throw off his opponents and make himself more entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not worried about it. Obviously, it sucks. I really wanted him and Dayton Fix to get the 1 and 2 5-time conference champions in the Big 12, but Dayton Fix can take that one home with him for his birthday.
His 26th birthday.
I thought someone said it was 27.
They said on the broadcast he was 26. Maybe he turned 27 that day and they just didn't know it.
I feel like if the broadcast said it, they're right.
Well, the broadcast also said, well, they had a graphic that said Iowa State's going for the first team title since 2010, and we all know it's 2009. So they also showed Anthony Echemendia's parents, who were not there.
I was gonna say,
yeah, they's like, these are Anthony's parents, and then Quint Kesnich, the guy who does the post-match interviews, he's like, hey, are your parents here? And Anthony's like, no, they're in Cuba, and I wrestle for them. He said it in a much more endearing way than that, but it's just one of those things like, no, guys, they're not here. But we know that because we cover the team very intimately. But
well, I thought someone tweeted at me that he was 27.
He could be. Like I said, the ESPN broadcast was wrong at least twice last night. So,
well, either way, Dayton Fix is the only 5-time Big 12 champion in the history of the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, shout out to Dayton Fix.
Yeah, beat Evan Frost.
Evan Frost impressed me.
He looked pretty good.
He looked good.
Without that first period, I mean, Evan Frost looked really good because he got a takedown late, rode him out. I mean, he wrestled pretty well.
He did exactly what I needed him to do, which was not let Dayton Fix do something really crazy or get a major decision. Or he did well. Yep. And I'm not kidding you. It was dead silent in there. And I tweeted it. Somebody yelled, "He's half your age," or something along those lines. And it was so funny because it's true. My friend Ryan Moon tweeted at me like, that man isn't even on his parents' insurance anymore, which is so true. Like, that is just, and you watched the broadcast, but they said the broadcast, they had Dayton's career record next to Evan's freshman year record.
Yep.
Oh
yep, they did.
God. I'm trying to find it. There was another tweet that made me laugh too about the whole situation. Someone tweeted, Dayton Fix makes history with his 4th Big 12 title to go with his lone Big 8 title. and then it
that's
has
good.
198 likes now. But when I
Yeah.
looked at it this morning, it only had like 60. And I was like, this is hilarious.
Oh, that's a great tweet.
Nothing but respect for Dayton Fix. He's one of those guys where I was like, tough match for Evan. Honestly, this is just a good experience to make him feel someone like Dayton Fix, so that when he goes on and wrestles other guys who are closer in age and newer to D1 college wrestling, he's already one step ahead of them by having wrestled someone like Dayton Fix twice. So, but Evan Frost had a good tournament. So
great tournament. Again, bonus points for him. He got first round major decision, second round major decision, third semifinal major decision.
Like, again,
3 bonus points. Love it.
So under the radar.
Yep.
He just does it.
Yep.
I love it. I need him to dye his hair back. The blonde hair, I can't do it with these guys anymore.
Yeah.
They were easy to find, though.
They were.
I'll tell you that.
On the broadcast, when you had the quad box up, which I did, it's like, all right, where's the bleach blonde hair? Aha, there it is.
Yeah, no, shout out to Evan Frost. Great season. Being in the lineup for the first time. So excited to see what he can do at NCAAs. It's going to be very interesting, because it's a whole different beast when you're there. So I'm excited to see him in the next environment, right? Like he succeeded in this one. He did exactly what we wanted him to do. So, 157 pounds.
Oof.
Took a year off my life.
And it took a year. Both.
What's funny is after Echemendia's match, I was like, holy crap, I'm already exhausted, because it was like you have the award ceremony. So like for their trophies or their medals, it's in between matches. So like I was running around like a psycho after Anthony won, went with him to his ESPN interview and then had to go interview him. And then I had to go to the podium, and it was just like my old lady legs were dying. Okay. So I was like, gosh, if Chinham wins this, I'm going to pass out after it if I have to go sit for David. And then it proceeded to take forever. Went into tiebreaker 2, which is only the 5th time in Big 12 wrestling title match history to be decided by TB2. Fellow former ISU wrestler Kyvan Gadsden had his title match in 2014 do that. And the last one was in 2021. Dom Demas. Demas?
Demas.
I was going to say, I should know how to pronounce that. So Chinham, he is, what I took away from it was now everybody has seen the gymnastics, yoga, his funky style, right? Everyone got to see it in full freaking display, because my God, I had people texting me like, does he always do this? Is this normal?
How are his knees intact? I had people ask me that, which fair question. I don't know.
It was, I don't even know what to call it. Let's just start with you giving your thoughts on how you thought it went.
Yep. So I'm going to give my thoughts by going to a couple different matches. Casey Swiderski in his semifinal match, semifinal match, probably should have forced a few more stall calls. Like, he did that, but the ref didn't give it to him. The ref didn't feel that he earned him, even though he very clearly did.
Yep.
Kyson Tarakina lost his semifinal match because of stalling / fleeing the mat type of deal. This Cody Chittum match, he was the only person to shoot in the entire match. The ref did hit Ryder Downey for stalling. I think it was in the first period, because every time Cody Chittum would stand up when he was, so it must have been the second period, stood up and tried to get an escape. And in wrestling, if you don't return the wrestler to the mat, it's stalling. So the ref did that in the second period. And then that kept happening over and over and over and over and over again. And he never got hit for stalling again. And I couldn't quite figure it out, because Chittum would stand up and Ryder Downey would run him out of bounds. And I remember Gannon Gremmel getting hit for stalling for that, because Gannon Gremmel was one of those guys who was fine on top in terms of riding, but was not ever going to turn anybody.
Yeah.
And I remember Gannon running guys out of bounds constantly, and he'd get hit for stalling for that, because that is stalling. You have to have an effort to keep them in the mat and take them back to the mat.
Well, it wasn't clear what stalling was this weekend.
That's why I brought up the Casey Swiderski and Kyson Terrakina stuff, because Cody Chittum, I thought, probably earned a few more stall calls. The ref disagreed with me. Again, Cody Chittum was the only one to shoot a shot that match. So not to take anything away from Ryder Downey. He's beat Cody Chittum twice now this year. But that one was tough to watch as a fan, just because you saw that Chittum was the one forcing action and not being rewarded for forcing the action. So disappointing would be the word, because really to me, that should have been another champion. And he took away his ability to become a 4-time champion now, because he has that ability. So disappointing, but I'm excited to see what he can do in NCAAs, because he did have some great wins this weekend. His first round was a tech fall. Second round against Brock Mahler, who is a returning All-American. Brock Mahler from Missouri is a returning All-American. Beat him 7-3. And then his semifinal match against Jared Hill of Oklahoma beat him 6-0. Great tournament. Take nothing away from that. He's proven once again he can beat top-end talent by beating Brock Mahler. Beat Ja'Cory Teamer earlier this year. But, man, you want him to get the result that he earned. And I'm not sure that happened.
I do find it frustrating how often we find ourselves watching Cody Chittum and Casey Swiderski in these matches where it's just kind of comes down to the refs.
Yep.
And I mean, Swiderski was able to make the adjustments necessary, so he never puts himself in that position, his words. But
yeah, his next two matches, Casey Swiderski won 19-5 and 22-6.
And he said that. He said, I realized that I needed to have wrestled the way I did in that last minute the whole entire match. And I think that's something Dresser says pretty often as well. Like, you can't let the refs decide your matches. And the Chittum one was very frustrating just because of the constant overtime reset. And then it was clear that there was confusion between, the wrestlers and their coaches. And so I'm curious how the conversation went between the coaches when they went back and rewatched and discussed together. Because even I was very confused what was going on. I kind of was like, is this like are they just, maybe is it growing pains? Is it because they're freshmen? Like, what's going on here? So, but officials, I hate saying this because I hate being the person that complains about officials, but officials were bad across the board.
I mean, we can point to Wyatt Hendrickson match.
I was just going to say, let's talk about Wyatt Hendrickson's pin. I was sitting literally right there. Like, I had a quick break. I was like, oh, Wyatt Hendrickson's on the mat. I'm going to watch. And he had this guy pinned for like 20 seconds.
Yep.
And
you could see it on the TV broadcast too. And they were saying it like,
would not call
how is he not pinned? He was pinned.
Everybody was yelling for it. That like fans who weren't even Air Force fans, the Air Force coaches were losing their minds, and they had every right to be, because they should have blown that whistle well before they did. And I don't understand why.
No,
I don't understand what the heck was going on. So
yeah. And there was other officiating blunders and other matches too.
Tons of other matches
where it's just like, what? This needs to be better.
Yep.
So unfortunately to be on the wrong side of it, but
yeah, but I think we still saw some good stuff. Like you said, Swiderski's comeback is awesome. Loved watching him finish third. Again, the cliche, toughest guys wrestle for third, and Swiderski did it and did it really well. And it's that makes you know that Casey is learning and taking his mistakes and flipping them, right? That match with Williams clearly was heated. He was very upset. He was very emotional, and he had every right to be, because I really do believe that was a BS match.
It was.
And he should have won it, and that ref robbed him of that. I believe that, and I stand by that. Williams sounds like he may have ended up hurt by the end of the tournament, but that was just bad officiating.
Yep.
Just terrible officiating. But I really like that Casey is really honing in, like, okay, maybe I need to just kind of hone in my emotions on this one. I like talking to him after he won third place. He was very much like, I was running after because they had to make weight. He's like, I was on my run, and I realized I wanted to apologize for the fans because I should have wrestled better, and I wasn't going to put myself in that situation again. And he did that. He wrestled super, super well, and that makes me excited that I don't see him being in this situation again. So, and that was my takeaway.
Yep.
And with Chittum, I struggle because he's a freshman.
Yep, true freshman.
There's just still a lot to learn for him, and he is just so dang competitive. He looked pissed on the podium.
Yeah.
and he finished in second place,
Mhm.
which is not good enough.
Nope.
So
when you're the number one recruit in the nation,
yeah,
you're used to winning tournaments.
yeah.
So,
and you know what? I was thinking about this. I was like, Cody Chittum, something about him attracted him to the Iowa program, right? And obviously Kevin Dresser runs his ship very different from the way Tom Brands runs his ship.
very different.
And so I just think it's so interesting to see the way Cody Chittum is really, thriving here. So I'm like, I wonder what he would have looked like being coached by Tom Brands. And I say that in terms of strictly culture and strictly coaching styles, because Kevin Dresser is very different. But I think I look at Chittum and I think he fits this so perfectly.
He does.
Like, he just fits it so well. His humor's great. He was, again, losing his mind on the side of the mat for all of his teammates. And again, till this day, I hope he never changes his walkout song.
It's incredible.
It's so funny to have a dark arena with spotlights, the dramatic effects of like, these are title matches. And then you have the I Like to Move It song from Madagascar.
Way
like,
back
that is
in the
just
day.
Hilarious. I'm a huge Cody Chittum fan.
Me too.
And you know what? I forgot to bring this up. In that match, what made me angry too was when oh gosh, Downey. I'm blanking on his
Ryder
name.
Downey.
Yes. They called potentially dangerous because his knee was like it looked like it was about to snap.
Very much.
And I get it. I get the call. But then they didn't return the same call on Cody Chittum, who was in the exact same position. The only difference is Cody Chittum is used to those positions because he's just, again, a freak of nature and can be twisted into a literal pretzel. So Cody Chittum didn't look like he was necessarily going to die from it, but it should have been called.
Yeah, that's what Chittum's knee looked like it was about to snap. And then that's when the ref called him. It's like, that should have been called probably 5 seconds ago when they're in the position, not when he started wrenching on his knee.
Yeah, like I understand it takes a lot for Cody Chittum to be in a position that is hurting him, since clearly he's very flexible. Would love to know what his workouts are. If Younger's walking around on one foot, what's Cody Chittum doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was so frustrating to me. Again, I don't like to show emotions, but that was one where I was looking around like, am I crazy? Why is nobody calling this? Frustrating. Anyways, other fun notes of the weekend for the overall tournament. This goes back to Anthony made this point in the weekly media availability, how Coach Dresser would encourage him by telling him, like, not many guys get the opportunity to wrestle in the same position as you. Not many get to be D1, and not many get to wrestle for a title. Chris and Hendrickson. I keep butchering his last name. I'm so sorry if you're listening. He tweeted out some fun, just little tidbits from the tournament. 7 different schools had a champ.
Awesome.
7 first-time champs, which is phenomenal. ISU's team total, like we said, was a number 4 all time. 5 schools scored 100+ points, tying the mark set in 2022.
Love when the rest of score points.
Yep. And then 12 of 13 schools have at least one NCAA qualifier pending at-large selections.
Yep.
So, like you said, the Big 12 is in great shape. And I love, although we still had all of the finals matches had either ISU, Missouri, or OSU at every single weight except 2 of them.
Wow.
It was 184 was Parker Kaizen.
Oh, and Oklahoma State. So
no, sorry, not that one.
97.
Stephen Buchanan. No, wrong one.
97 was Rocky. No, that was Rocky Elam, though. No,
Rocky Elam
South
and
Missouri.
Tanner Sloan.
Tanner Sloan.
Gosh, wow, look at us butchering all of that.
We're so smart, guys.
So 197 was South Dakota State and
Missouri. So that's not it.
Sorry, gosh, what was it? Aiden?
74 was SDSU to NESU, I think, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one I'm thinking of? I was like, it's definitely SDSU. Gosh, people are going to yell at us.
That's right. It's Gavin Saxon, Kate DeVos.
Well, I was going to say, I literally wrote,
174.
I did a tweet on it. It was 2 weights that did not include them. And I can't, now I'm blanking. So would the other one be 149? Yeah, I was going to say. Aiden.
No, because Jordan Williams was in the finals at 149.
Well, speaking of Parker Kaizen, 4-time Big 12 champion. Well, Aiden looks this up, so we stopped talking in circles on the pod. He's a 4-time Big 12 champion, and he has a chance to go for a 5th one, which I can confidently say he probably will get a 5th one.
Yep.
In all of the rivalry of the weekend, right? Oklahoma State fans were definitely feeling the heat of Iowa State having a good run. When I tweeted that Oklahoma State fans were actively cheering against Iowa State, I didn't mean it in a judgmental way. I meant it in a, they're doing this because they're nervous.
Yep.
And I love it.
Yep.
I love it. I love that Oklahoma State has to feel heat. I love when it's more of a toss-up than it just being automatically assumed that they're going to win.
Yep.
I want them to not feel that they're going to coast through. And that Parker Keckheisen match, when I was on Twitter, shout out to Seth Duckworth. He was doing all the math of what OSU needed to do to beat ISU the whole tournament. And I trust Seth. He's phenomenal wrestling journalist. So I was like, whatever his math is, I trust it. Well, I made the mistake of reading some of the responses. And some of the fans were like, we just need to win 2 and Iowa State needs to lose XYZ. But they were assuming that Dayton Fix would win, which good.
Yep.
I also assumed.
Fair. Yep.
Absolutely. But then they were also saying Dustin Plott.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
I saw that too.
In what world are you thinking that you're going to beat Iowa State for the team title with Dustin Plott beating Parker Keckheisen?
Yep. It was never going to happen.
Like,
it made no sense from the outside.
What rationale?
And it just shows me that Parker Keckheisen is not known nationally as well as he should be, because that should have never been a question. Be like, oh, shoot, we're not going to win that one because Parker Keckheisen is clearly the best in the country. So I don't know what they were thinking, or if they just had never watched them or never watched Parker Keckheisen wrestle before, or what, because like Dustin Plott had already lost to him earlier in the year. Like they wrestled and Parker Keckheisen beat him pretty good. So like, why?
Well, part of me thinks it's their ego.
Yeah.
A UNI wrestler, please.
Yeah.
You really think of their egos. And that's just me talking smack at this point because we're at the end of the podcast. But like, very well that it was probably their ego that made them think like, oh, the guy from UNI, it's fine. Dustin Plott can beat him. But again, Parker Keckheisen is like, he is up here.
Yep.
He is going to be in all of the history books for UNI wrestling. Marcus Coleman never, ever was able to get one on him.
No, I don't even think he was able to take him down. Dustin Plott wasn't either, to be very clear. Dustin Plott also did not take him down.
Like, I don't know how you walk into that match as an Oklahoma State fan or any fan from any school and think, oh, we have a chance against Parker Keckheisen. It's like going up against, what did I say it was? I said it was like when David Carr was at 157 and nobody in the 157 weight class could ever consider themselves to potentially beat David.
Yep.
And it was going up against Parker Keckheisen was like when Jared Franick would be the guy who would go up against David in the title matches.
Yep.
Jared
Franick was never going to beat David Carr.
Where's the camera? Here, and then here's the rest.
Yeah.
Down here under the table. Like Parker Keckheisen is so good. And you get people listening. I got a few people who called me out. They're like, yeah, we know how much you love Parker Keckheisen. But he's so talented. And I just don't understand why more people aren't talking about him. This isn't a UNI podcast. And we probably talk about Parker Keckheisen more than, I don't know, people who maybe do cover. I don't know who covers Northern Iowa, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So people need to pay attention to him more. And he has one more season. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's the next 5-time. He's going to be the number 2.
Yep.
He
for sure
took that spot from David. So any other tidbits from this weekend that you want to bring up before we close this out? We're probably past our time. Aiden's giving us a look.
He can deal with it.
You guys can't see him.
I liked, for the most part, Kyson Terakina's tournament. We said Kyson beforehand, Dresser said that this is the best Kyson he's seen since November. And Kyson proved that for the first 3 matches. Won his first one 6-2. Then he beat number 3 and returning Big 12 champion Steve O'Poulin 3-2. Lost in sudden victory to Torres Bradley, which he should not have. That should have been a win.
Yeah.
But that wasn't Kyson's fault necessarily. And then consolation round of 4 he won, and then third place match he lost, which happens. And then MJ Gaitan, pinning machine.
Oh,
loved
yes.
all his bonus points. If we're going to talk about bonus points, MJ and both Will Feldkamp, they got a few pins that really helped out Iowa State. So really was truly a team effort. Loved what I saw from pretty much everyone. Will Feldkamp technically didn't earn an automatic qualifying spot, but I would be beyond shocked if he did not earn an at-large bid.
Right.
So Iowa State should have 9 in the NCAA tournament. Julian Broderson will not get a spot, but hey, 9 is more than enough to win a team trophy. I think Missouri got one a couple years ago with 7. So just get Yonger Bastida, David Carr, a few others in the finals matches. I mean, I was looking at it. Why can't Anthony Echemendia wrestle in the finals?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Real Woods is number 2 right now, and Echemendia was a second away from beating him.
I was going to say, and Real Woods has not looked.
He hasn't looked the same.
Yeah. So
that's legitimately a real possibility. Casey Swiderski, we'll get into a separate podcast later, Aiden, I promise. But Swiderski has a real chance to wrestle in the finals. So not saying they all will, but there's a very good chance. And I feel better about it now than I have ever before that Iowa State wins a team trophy at NCAAs.
Well, like I said in the beginning, like Iowa State was not winning, like earning enough points in the tournament to even give fans like hope that they could get near the title in the past. And when you have guys like Kyson Terrakina, who wasn't anticipated to do much based on
seeding.
Yeah.
He did 6.
Yeah. And he contributed 11.5 points. So I have a lot of faith that this team can do some real damage.
Yep.
And I'm excited.
Me too. A couple weeks away.
It's gonna be fun. And I haven't looked at all the Big Ten results on how they did.
I haven't either.
But the Big 12 is looking real good. So I'm excited to see how it all ends up mixing together. Arizona State, they won a team trophy.
Yep.
Shout out. They'll be in the Big 12 conference next year.
Yep.
So it's the best time of the year.
Yep.
Final thoughts? Aiden, do you have any final thoughts you want to contribute?
It was a fun weekend.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Good times are had by all.
Yeah. I got to ice my body. Got to take an ice bath after running around chasing Iowa State wrestlers all weekend. Nationals are even more chaotic. So I'm excited. As always, this podcast is courtesy of Fareway. And yeah, we'll be back next week to do a full NCAA preview. And we will try our best to not go over time, Aiden.
That won't happen.
Thanks for listening, guys.